to what the resolution is. If somebody, Mayor, if you want to make a resolution modifying the prior resolution to sell certain property, that's fine, but that's not the resolution for the body right now.
Okay, right now there is no resolution. By the way, we already did vote on the previous resolution, which was number 76, so that's completed. We're now in old business. We're now in old business. And I have indicated that, is it prudent for the council to, if we're moving forward with gov deals, now that we know the guidelines and how we can proceed to do it safely, is it prudent that we will get rid of the truck? And as much as I dislike that truck, I think it's a piece of crap, literally, but at least it's paid for, and if it's running, it may actually just bail us out in the event of an emergency. Make do with what you have, and right now, that's basically what we have. Nothing what I'm saying. Nothing.
Mayor, is there a motion or resolution before the body on the issue of what?
No, Randy, once again, we're in old business. And I'm bringing up that, we discussed a while back that we were going to sell all of this equipment, and now we're revisiting it at this moment. So there could be a resolution that'll come out of it. It may just simply die on the vane. I am bringing up old business about a decision that we made months and months ago, prior to COVID-19.
When did we do department reports? How do we get to old business?
I apologize, I didn't have my glasses
I just thought you were going to bring that up later.
on. No, I apologize. I'm trying to wing this off without looking at it with my glasses on. You're right, I didn't have my glasses. I apologize. We'll go back to that in a moment. We have department reports. We have the August 20 clerk's office, municipal court, tax collector, fire company, public works, and zoning office. Anybody have any questions? I don't think I have this month's public works report.
Yeah, I forwarded that. August should be September. So these are all September reports. I do have them, and I will forward those reports to you.
I didn't receive them, and they were emailed to me at something, but I didn't.
They were not emailed.
I did get one email from you, and that was August.
Several of
We'll
the
table
other
until
reports
next meeting.
came in tonight. So we do have all those reports.
Make a motion, we table until the next meeting.
My public report, my public works report is in the drive.
Yeah.
Right, that was said last month.
Okay, so Mr. Dilch made a motion
No, I'm sorry, I want to amend my motion. I make a motion, we accept the public works report.
I don't have that in front of me.
Can I get a second?
In the drive. I'll second.
Second.
Okay, is there a reason why someone thinks that it's not a good idea to put it on the piece of paper to present forward?
Go ahead, pray for yourself.
What's the benefit of not having it on a hard copy, just so that I know?
Because I put it on the drive where it's supposed to be.
Okay, so I don't do the Google Drive thing there, so is there a reason why I shouldn't have a copy on hard copy?
No,
If you-
Mayor, you can print it for yourself
I'm the
anytime.
fearless leader that should know how to do this, but I apologize, I don't do it, okay? I can tell you that we had some rather very, very crafty, highly intelligent previous administration that were technology wizards, but that didn't mean that everything went down over here accordingly the way that it should, and as a result, tens of thousands of dollars of equipment walked away. Okay? And I had nothing to do with that.
Now, that can't be true. You were on the technology committee for years. You had to have
I
something.
don't know, Mr. Dills, I don't know everything as it relates to technology. It takes more time to go through this nonsense with what we're going through than to just simply print out a copy and present it. If you want to try to make me look like I'm stupid, continue. Continue, that's fine with me.
Right now, there's a motion and second to accept the DPW report.
Hey,
There's a
Let's
question and a
vote.
second? Yes. Okay, roll call. Or, excuse me, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Myself, no. I'm not voting on something that's being refused to give to me.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Moving down to old
That
business.
is not being refused to give to you. If you refuse to
No,
use
I'm
the
being reduced
technology.
to have to look at it on a hard drive. Thank you very much. I understand where this is going, and I will deal with it accordingly.
Where's it going?
Moving down to old business, I'm ending the debate. Moving down to old business. Is there any old business anybody wants to bring up? I've already brought up something. Does anybody have any additional?
The Public Safety Committee was the letter sent out to the Utilities Authority.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And I gave a copy of it. I gave a copy to Jeff Cornell.
So Jeff has a copy, so I can ask for him for a copy?
If you want to ask him for a copy, go ahead. I just said I sent him a copy. I CC'd it to him. He's aware of everything that I put.
Okay. Would you email it?
I emailed it to Mr. Cornell.
Okay, I'll just ask him to forward me the email. Thank you.
Is there any other old business? Moving down to new business. The status of Halloween. I want to state on record that I am 100% in favor of allowing Halloween to take place. There's a number of municipalities that are in fact doing it. I think we have majority of our townsfolk. Everybody knows, not the majority, but everybody knows we have a pandemic that's out there, but as long as our kids are socially distanced properly, as long as they are all wearing masks and residents are wearing masks, that are taking the kids around, and certainly if they're greeting the kids, I think everything is fine. I'm going to make a motion to approve having Halloween as October 31st, with the time frame being toddlers from 5 to 6, and then the not-so-toddlers from 6 to 8. Is there a second? That's what the hours always have been in the past.
May I add something? I was at Weymouth Township today, and they added an additional hour to their time frame, and they said 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., whereas before I believe it was 5 to 8. But I think that's what they're going to do. So we may want to kind of be the same. That's a suggestion.
We've always had from 5 to 6 for the toddlers,
Okay.
and then we have the 6 to 8 for the not-so-toddlers.
Okay.
I made a motion. Is there a second?
No, the motion went down for lack of support. Mr. Olson, why don't you take advantage of that opportunity to enlighten us to the guidance you got from the governor's office or wherever it was and what they suggest we do for Halloween? That all of us were provided an email a couple days ago.
So that was going to be my question. Should we, so that the state recently put out some guidelines on trick-or-treating. They're saying it's okay to go ahead with it. And they're recommending some good, better, and best practices for implementing this. So if we're going to approve Halloween, should we approve them with these guidelines attached, which everybody was emailed? I don't think I need to read
Can I add
the whole
something
thing.
on there, if I may, please? We have this, I saw this on my email. At my suggestion, we put out a voicemail blast and tell everybody to please go onto our municipal website to read what the guidelines are to celebrate and have a safe Halloween. Would that be acceptable?
I think that would work. I don't know, does anybody else have a way to get this out more effectively?
I would say, I would probably be most excited, Mr. Olson, over your, since it's you gave us this guidance, great guidance, that you make a motion that we accept it, carry forward to the letter, that it go out. It's not that many words. It could be done in about 90 seconds, probably on a robocall. And Teresa Seelman does a terrific job for us on, probably the best voice in town at doing that. Why don't you build a motion out of those thoughts, if you can, if you agree?
Okay, yeah. So I'll make a motion.
If I may say so, every mayor in every town does all of these voice connections. I don't know why I'm being micromanaged, that I'm being restricted to do my job. I would also like to say that with this health guidelines that we have, primarily, this should be forwarded over to the school, because primarily those are the kids that are going out trick-or-treating in grade school. And probably we could also give it to regional and maybe even ACIT if they can we're probably going to be adopting that as well, but if not, we can give this to them, to supply to those three school systems, so that everybody's all.
Not all those,
done.
not all those schools are in session, are they?
It's not a question of that the schools are in session. They have their way of how they're getting their information out to the kids and to the parents. School is still being conducted. That's a guaranteed fact. Whether some of them are virtual, whether some of them are hybrid, whatever the case may be, but school is still taking place. So we have a set of guidelines that should be supplied to the school, as well as a robocall that goes out indicating for people to please look at the website that we have. And I guess this would probably, if not primarily, affect those who don't have kids, but they're handing out candy to them.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we proceed with Halloween as per the state's guidelines. We'll send out a robocall, which will direct them to our website where they can find the guidelines. And then we'll contact the local schools and ask them to send home the guidelines also with the students.
I agree
Second.
with that. I agree with that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so Matt, you're gonna, excuse me, Mr. Olson, you're gonna, send this.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I have a question before, I didn't vote. Who is going to notify the schools? That's the question.
I'm asking that question right now. Matt, you're gonna excuse me, Mr. Olson, you're going to, send this report over to the three school systems. You're on that committee, correct? School liaison.
Estell, Manor, Weymouth, and what was the other one?
I don't think we
Unit?
need to send it- I don't think we need to send it to Weymouth. Our kids don't necessarily go there. I mean, we're covering our base and we're prioritizing what we want to see here done in our town. So my suggestion is, please
Sure.
take this part and have them give it to the Estell Manor School, give it to Buena Regional, and give it to ACIP. Those are the
Mr.
three
Olson,
primaries.
might it be more efficient for Mr. Olson simply to make sure that the Board of Education has received the same document that he received and that they're going to do fulfill their responsibility to make sure everywhere our kids show up, they have the same guidance. That's how the process works, I think. Having served on the Board of Education.
And you know what, they
Okay,
probably
I'll
already
contact
have.
I'm sure they do have it. I mean, but we'll make sure.
All right,
Good
Mr.
job.
Olson, so you're going to supply it to the three schools, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Moving down the line here.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, can we back up on old business? Because we told Judy, I'm sorry, Mrs. Casgram, that we would talk about code on old business, but we skipped that.
I agree. Let's move backwards. Proceed. Go ahead. You have something you want to say on old business?
Myself?
Yeah.
I've lost.
We said that we would let Mrs. Casgram talk about code on old business.
The meeting's not open to the public. I don't want to pick his and hers as to who we're going to address to. Let's just get to the meeting, and then when the meeting's open to the public, we should have an opportunity to speak.
Okay, boss.
Moving down the line here, we have the holiday parade. I did get to speak to Mrs. Perillo, asking her what her feelings were. And one of the things that if we decide that we would like to move forward and have a parade, one of the things that we cannot do is hand out hot cider or hot chocolate. I'm not even so sure that we can hand out bottles of water, but we still could in fact have a parade if we move forward to find out if we have the right entities to be able to participate. I mean, we can do the floats, we can get the word out to the residents with that, to the schools, whatever. We could, I'm sure we could get the ROTC to come out. I'm sure, or I would like to believe that we could have the fire companies show up. I would like to see the marching band from Buena, if they could come over here. So if we're going to do it, we need to start our notifications. I don't believe that we'll be able to hand out any food or drinks. I believe that there's also a safe guideline as to how Santa Claus would be able to interact with the kids. I would like
So
to
the
see the parade, I would like to see the parade tradition continue. I mean, primarily, it's really about the kids. It's not about anybody. It's certainly not about me. It's about the kids. I know the
So the
kids love
kid-
it, and I'd like to see it continue.
So the committee did talk about this, and we had discussed it and decided against it.
Well, I'd like to see a reconsideration of it, quite honestly, Mrs. Owen, because, like I said, it's for kids. They look forward to it. We're just, you had a committee on it. I'm assuming that you talked about
So-
all the things that you can't simply do, which is like handing out food, cookies, none of that. We can't do any of that no more. Not at this time. But we still, in fact, could have a parade. And the kids still could, in fact, visit Santa Claus. You just can't hand out any food. Would the committee like to reconsider and talk about it and just move along and move forward? We can contact the right entities and we can have a parade after.
Well, that was part of the problem was when we contact these different entities and vendors and then they, if we end up canceling on them, that's a lot of work on their part and everything else. And there was just too much up in the air, at this time.
Mr. Olson, if I may.
If you want, if you're suggesting we do more of a limited parade where there's just like a line of fire trucks with Santa Claus on the top and everybody's outside just watching, the committee could talk about doing something more limited, but it's not going to be in the same fashion that it was. And the committee already decided that.
So we can still do the parade. We can still light the
The
parade.
committee would have to talk about it.
Yeah. All right, well, I would like to see it happen, to be honest, and
Yeah.
I'll give you my blessing to both of you. If you can make it, pull it off, that would be great. It really would.
If I could just say something, just as far as the parade goes, I mean, the whole big thing about a parade is Santa Claus. And if Santa Claus ain't gonna be able to take kids on his laps, not gonna be able to hand them gifts, it's gonna be a real disappointment to the kids if Santa Claus has gotta stay away from them.
Well,
So-
Santa Claus could in fact also walk up to the kids and hand them a present. They don't have to.
No, they're,
No.
like,
don't wanna
as far
do
as
that.
this Halloween,
No.
they're saying no. No handing. If you
In
get the
my
Halloween
opinion,
guide, I'm not just going by the Halloween guide.
in
It's
my
kind of the
opinion,
same.
sorry, Julie.
That's good.
In my opinion, no one's lives are worth one event. It's not. I actually would vote against Halloween. Not that I don't want to see these kids to have enjoyment, but because this illness is killing people. And I don't want anyone to pay for an event with their life. That's ridiculous.
Nobody, there's no ill intentions for anybody.
Oh, absolutely not. But mistakes happen and people get closer than what they're supposed to be. And I don't agree.
I think it'd be a problem with the Santa Claus and the kids.
Mayor, we've got the committee's recommendation. If you want to make a motion and see how it gets voted. We'll take a roll call vote.
I would like to make a motion to have the parade on a very limited basis. And maybe we just won't even do the Santa Claus. Santa Claus will walk with the kids without having to hand out gifts to them. I don't know. Just
I'll
kinda
second the
let
motion.
it go down.
I'll second the motion. Roll call
I
vote.
make have the parade on a limited basis. And the committee will come up with the limited ways of how it's done.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Dilge,
No.
Mr. Olson,
No.
Miss Owens,
No.
Miss Sparks,
No.
Mayor Benesia.
Moving down the line here, we have pilot funding. We have talked to the governor's office today, as of recently as 5 o'clock tonight. I was given some misinformation indicating earlier that the monies were going to be $190-some thousand. It is not. It's going to be the $123,000. And that's at this moment. I did appear before the Senate Budget Committee just prior to the state getting shut down, and I gave a report that I would like to give to the council to let you know just how hard that I did fight for this year. So it shouldn't take any more than a minute, a couple minutes here. I'm going to give the report as to what I addressed the Senate Budget Committee. Dear Senate Budget Committee members, I am here today to discuss the number one most important issue to my city, Estell Manor, concerning the cut of pilot funding from our revenue source. I'd like to start off with a very brief history of the city of Estell Manor. Going back to the 1950s and 1960s, Estell Manor was known as a very rural community with some farmers who were in the chicken farm industry, and also egg farmers. There were probably no more than 150 homes back then within a 55 square mile radius, which is the size of Estell Manor. Back then, all the municipal streets were gravel dirt roads. Later as time progressed, those streets were improved with oil and stone. Even still to this day, the city of Estell Manor is a very quiet, rural, sleepy community. There was no significant development growth with Estell Manor during the 1960s and the early part of the 70s. However, in 1976, as we are all aware, casino gambling was passed by referendum. And on Memorial Weekend in 1978, the first casino resorts international opening. However, now that casino gambling was in place, the following year, in Congress, it was enacted by the Finance Commission to have a law. Before Estell Manor even had a chance to start to have any development within our city, Pinelands regulations pretty much restricted any and all kind of significant growth and commercial radius. Pinelands passed a law that said within our town you must have either 5 acres, 10 acres, or 25 acres to be able to build a house. And the majority of all those homeowners had difficulty in being able to build single-family houses. Slow residential growth did take place during the 1980s and 90s, as of today, there are approximately 640 houses in the city of Estell. Because of the Pineland restrictions, any type of commercial growth became completely impossible with restrictions on our rateable, which restricts our rateable base to that being only residential and no commercial development. Up until 1955, our city operated just a one-room school building, which is known as the Risley School. A more modern school was then built in 1955.
Mayor
Venezia.
Mayor
Excuse me.
Venezia. You said it'd be a minute, we're like 3 minutes into it, and we're only at
Excuse me, Mr.
1955.
Dills, I have the floor.
Now, I'm sorry, you should have provided this letter to us ahead of the meeting in the packet. so that
Mr.
we could
Dills,
read it.
I have the floor and I'm making a presentation, I'm sorry.
No.
Right up until
You have
around
to
the year
stop.
2000, taxes were
You have
affordable
to
in
stop.
our city. As of the cost of education has become more expensive, so did our property taxes. And our school is 70% of our property taxes. Going back to the middle 1990s, the state started aggressively purchasing large tracts of land to prevent any further development in our town in an effort to preserve the drinking water that is generated by the Cohansey Aquifer. Even back then in the 1990s, there were some rather very large tracts of land that could have been developed to be put as rateables. However, with the Pinelands restrictions, it made it rather very difficult and extremely expensive to be able to develop. And then along comes the state with their land acquisitions that they did, in which they purchased quite a number of hundreds of acres, single tracts of land.
I make a motion that the mayor stop reading his letter.
You're out of order. You're
Can I
out of
get a
order.
second?
You're out of order. I'm
Can
going
I
to
get a
continue.
second?
You're out of order.
Can I get a second?
And single tracts of land, and some tracts consisting of more than 1,000 acres at a time. Back in 1999, a state law was passed that was called the Garden State Preservation Trust Fund, in which it was supposed to be a compensation amount of money to pay municipalities for all the state-owned land that they had purchased. That law was created within the tax code structures that state that any land that is purchased by the county or the state that is purchased for the purpose of preserving quality drinking water is fully taxable.
Motion, there's a,
No, I have the floor, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're not running the meeting.
no, I'm not running.
However,
I'm
the
just saying
amount of
this is a
money that
motion
we
and a second.
received was less, I do that.
Okay.
However, the amount of money that we received was less than equivalent to a
Oh,
property
members, we can motion
based
to
on a
make him
farmland
stop.
assessment, which
I make a
essentially only
motion
pays 10
that he
cents for every
stop. Can
dollar.
I get a second?
Property that was
I
under
already
farmland
seconded.
and for under an active
Roll
woodland
call
management
vote.
plan,
All
it
those in
pays
favor?
$20 an acre, which equals $10 on the dollar. In 2013,
All
the
those in
state purchased
favor?
the largest land
Raise your hand.
acquisition in state history in Estell Manor. That tract of
Mr.
land
Lafferty,
was
shut him down, please.
farmed and consisted of more than $100 acres of land. That particular tract of land, Lenape Farms, was entering into discussions to develop that
Come
property.
on, what are we doing? Shut
However,
him
Mayor,
down.
it's-
No,
they're-
I'm
they're-
sorry. I'm sorry. However, in a conversation that I had with the Land Acquisitions Committee, it was brought to my attention that if the state was to be able to purchase that property, that would then make state ownership in the city of Estell Manor more than 60%, which would then double our pilot funding formula. I was assured that if we would work with the state to facilitate that sale, that the state was going to double our pilot funding formula so that we would receive with all the other towns that are more than 60% owned, which would be $20 per acre. And as the way that history now stands, we never received one dime from the state in additional funding, not to mention that we lost a rateable of more than $120,000 a year annually each year from the previous owner. To this date, the state owns 20,800 acres of pristine land in Estell Manor. That means that we should be receiving a payment of $416,000 from state pilot funding. Instead, we are receiving less than $124,000. Our city still maintains the cleanup of trash discarded on these state properties, cuts the grass, etc. Let it be known that the city of Estell Manor has been protecting the pristine drinking water for the rest of the residents to have the pleasure to drink, as well as many of our out-of-town people who hunt and fish these lands. I request and demand that Estell Manor be given a just compensation, just as prescribed in law in accordance with laws that were passed in the legislature. Thank you for your time and consideration. That is my state of the address that I gave to the Senate Budget Committee. We actually, in fact, made some headway with it. We were going to get $190,000 because of COVID-19 and every other damn thing that went wrong. This year, we're back to $123,000. I have put in an enormous amount of time, and I'm sorry to tell you guys, but if you haven't figured it out, pilot funding is this city's biggest #1 issue, and you want to gloss over it and you don't want to hear about it, then you shouldn't be on council. That's what we did. We ran to try to maintain stability for our community, not run on our egos. And I have worked very, very diligently and put in dozens and dozens of hours, numerous trips that I've made, numerous presentations that I've made at the League of Municipalities. And it just doesn't seem to be gaining its traction. It was there for a moment, and we went right back again to square one. Council should at least thank me for all the time that I have put in with this here, rather than I don't want to hear it.
Mr. Mayor, I think
Very
council,
rude on your part, very rude.
Mr. Mayor,
Very out
I
of
think,
order.
my turn? Mr. Mayor, I think.
I'm done with my presentation, so go ahead. I'm sure it's going to be for the benefit of the city as a whole.
Yes. I think the majority of council knows how important pilot funding is.
You just don't want to hear it from me. That's
We've
okay.
had-
I know where this is going. I know where it's going. At any rate, Mr. Moore, unfortunately, I'm sorry to tell you that you were correct. We are going to get 123,000 and change, not 190. What a bummer.
Well, I received a local finance notice the other day, October 1st, 2020-22, and it just simply states that, yes, we are getting our full amount this year because we budgeted for it, but it did say the 54% Garden State Trust increase was eliminated in the fiscal year 2021 budgets. Municipalities will now receive the same amount they received in prior years. If you have any questions, call the division. All right, we got clean communities as the next item.
Committees want to give a report?
We didn't do anything.
Clean
We're gonna do
Communities,
dumpster day.
uh,
We're gonna
Clean
do
Communities
dumpster
is
day.
on there because I got a call from a resident asking when the street cleanup day was going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I got it on there hoping we would talk about it. Are we gonna do it, not do it? How do I respond to the resident? What are we gonna notify the public? Do we have the funds? Are we sitting on the funds? Do we have to return the funds if we don't use them? I know the reporting date was extended. And I've spoken with Mr. Mallon, who said he would work with Mr. Cornu to get that report done, and support Mr. Cornu by doing that reporting into the future.